Yes. Emma, right? Yeah. Good question. I'll just start, I can go this way. I have to say Dvorak. It's sort of a neck and neck between Dvorak and Beethoven. Dvorak especially because he favored the cello so well. Well, I'm a little biased. But his way of taking folk melodies and turning them classical is kind of what we're doing. So that's on one end, but I will tell you another one of my favorites is Victor Bork. Have anybody seen or heard of Victor Bork? Dude, that guy rocks, okay? I mean, he did rock. He still rocks in heaven somewhere, but I went to one of his concerts when I was a kid, and it was in a Bravenel Hall here in Salt Lake, and I looked around, and I felt it. I felt that so many people in that hall would never have stepped foot in a classical music hall if it were not for somebody like Victor Borg, who was able to make fun of himself and make fun of classical music and other kinds of music and just have fun with it and not take himself too seriously. I looked up there and I said, that's where I want to be in life when I was a little kid. And that's what we're trying to do today in our shows too. So I was inspired by Victor Borg, and I'm always inspired by Beethoven and Dvorak.
Mine is a tie between Beethoven and Bach. So I admire Bach. It's the way he gave credit. He gave credit for his music. He didn't take the credit for his music. And that's what I love about him the most. He's just such an inspiration. He's such a good person. And Beethoven, because of the Emperor Piano Concerto that I listened to while driving through Zion's National Park one day and had sensory overload. I was a Beethoven fan from then on.
Let Paul talk now. Mine's David Guetta. Yeah. Whatever period it was great, you know. No, go ahead. You know, I'm same with John and Steve. I grew up playing the violin, but my music that I grew up with was more, I'm like Michael Jackson. I grew up with Michael Jackson. You know, I'm a 70s, 80s kind of music kind of guy. I love reggae, I love R&B, I love soul. Honestly, I just love music that just makes me want to get up and dance and smile. And so, it's the perfect combination. These guys, they did all the classical training for me. I don't need to do that, right? They know all about the theory. I think that's why it works, is because we can take their knowledge and love for the classical, and they love all types of music as well, but the combination of all our loves for different types of genres, mixing them together is what really makes it work. And then video, we gotta talk about the video. And did you guys see any of our videos? Yeah. Right? So we all gotta give a huge round of applause for Paul, because he is the man behind the camera. And sometimes he feels like he doesn't get as much props as he should, because people just see the videos and they just kind of comment on the music, but the videos are just amazing. So let's hear it for Paul. We can't take all credit. We do have some great guys. Tell Stewart, he's no longer with us, if you guys didn't know that. He helped film Beethoven's 5 Secrets. He's off on his own. He's moved on, but he's been a great part of the Piano Guide, especially with video and editing. So.
Okay, I didn't quite hear it. Was it, how do I choose who gets beat up? You're talking about the piano guys or my cellos? My cellos? Okay, good question. The carbon fiber cello is pretty much indestructible. Dude, I played this thing, if you guys saw our We Three Kings video, I was playing on an ice rink for 8 hours. I stayed in tune. That's nuts. I want to try burying this in the desert and see what happens. Seriously, this thing's incredible. It's amazing. So that I've never worried about. This one can take a little beating, but you have to be really careful. And then I've got another one that I wish I had today. His name's Samson, for good reason. And he's actually, I took the top off with him, a luthier did for me, and reinforced the interior so that I could use him as a percussion instrument. So What? Oh, and then I have a steel cello, of course, and that thing, I think I told this story last year, but I love this story. I don't know if you remember this, but we had to write Born Vivaldi, codename Vivaldi, that we're playing in the show together on Saturday. We had to write it in the middle of the night because my wife and Al's wife were gone, and so we were watching all the kids. So we would put the kids down at night, and then we'd record all night. And I remember this one moment when we're playing, and I've got the steel cello, and I'm banging on it, creating all these sounds like Hans Zimmer, you know, and I've got it down on the ground, and he's pressed record, and I'm just so in the zone of like cello abuse. And I've got these mallets, and I'm just going, you know, and then it stops. And I open my eyes, and like the fingerboard is off, the strings are flying every direction, and I was like, oh yeah. It was such a cool moment. It was just like, oh, I just felt it then. And that's so everything you hear, obviously, according to Vivaldi, when you hear that recording, is that steel cello experimenting with that.
Yeah, I just got to mention something. So people really don't realize this fact that every sound you hear, except for a few exceptions, I mean, you hear our music and you think we have a whole symphony behind us. But it's actually Steve layering every part. We do over 80 to 100 tracks. So he'll play, you know, a melody, then he'll play a harmony, we'll double it, triple stack it, and, you know, we'll pitch shift it so it sounds like a violin section. And so everything you're hearing, even the percussion, just layers it with his acoustic, with his carbon fiber, with his steel, and then you get this really unique sound that is kind of just the piano guy's sound. And then with John's amazing piano skills and all his arpeggios and elbow smashes and forearm shivers and all that stuff, he's got it going on. So,
Thank you.
so it's pretty cool. So fun.
I feel barely adequate as a pianist.
One thing I'll say, this is so fun about a string instrument, especially the cello, is it's amazing how versatile our instruments really, truly are. Because for me, I could never really rock the Dvorak's cello concerto maybe as much as I'd like, but I spend so much time trying to create a pangy flute sound, which is an Indian flute on the cello. Or like, for instance, when we're playing on, sitar, that's right, for our most recent video in the desert. And we're going to be playing on the Great Wall of China. And for sure, if you use a mute just right, and if you play with an angled bow, and do a couple other things with your cello, you can actually make it sound like an erhu, which is the Chinese fiddle. So it's so cool what you can do with your instrument if you just sort of let your mind go and don't tell your cello teacher. That's a good question. We have no idea. We don't. We haven't written it yet. We've got a couple ideas.
And we're filming it in 3 weeks.
Do you guys? I don't know. Seriously, I wish we did know. Yeah, we've got a couple ideas, but yes.
Are you guys coming to the bonfire tonight?
I gotta ask my kids. I got teenage kids, and so I gotta sell.
Do you see
something? I
Do
gotta
you see
sell.
how many cute girls there are in the audience?
No, dude, that's gonna be a huge selling point.
We don't know. Yes. Sarah, do you want to come to the bonfire? No, I was meaning Casey does that. No, I have a 9-month-old that is kind of sick right now, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I would love to. It would be a lot of fun. We could burn a piano. I love you, John. Seriously,
You are hilarious. I love that. It was just so quick.
Okay, we've got Rachel here, and then we got 2 more. Maybe make them super quick, and I'll make Al answer because I've been too long-winded. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I was 15, I was sort of the entertainer in my high school, and came up with a little tune. I was inspired by the tuna fish commercial, the Bumblebee tuna fish commercial. Crazy, stupid stuff. And And I started wearing a wig when I was playing so that I could smash my head on the piano. And as I'm getting more elderly, I just have to stop wearing that wig. And I gotta start being a little more dignified. Did backflips till about 2 years ago. The record height was off a 10-foot stage, which is about the height of a basketball hoop.
One time he did a backflip off a piano bench and it broke. It was like the coolest thing the high school had ever seen. He was performing in front of the high school and he goes, and it broke and he lands on his head and he blacks out.
True story.
And the whole high school's like,
Some of the kids went home like, oh, this guy's crazy.
Dude, it was awesome though because like he gets up and he was like, where am I? And the high school's like, no more jumping off piano benches. I was 7. I started on violin when I was 7, and then switched to cello when I was 8, and then other instruments from there.
And mine was 6th grade, so how old were you when you were 6th grade? I started violin. I'm still in 6th grade. Oh, see? They think you're mean.
It's hilarious.
No, that was funny. High five.
How many times? How many times did you do 6th grade? Where do you come up with that stuff? Where does he come up with that stuff?
Well, a question. Oh, you want to say how?
Oh, I started when I was about 7.
There you go.
I actually played piano too. Started when I was 8 years old.
I got you beat.
There's that tall kid in the gray shirt.
So, how much live singing do you do in live? I'm sorry, what? How much live
Okay. It certainly depends on the song, but I think about maybe like a third of our show is completely just me and John, and then maybe like a third past that is sort of like half live, and then because we can't bring 30 Steves to the show, it's just too many groceries and
Way high maintenance.
yeah, exactly. Way too much ego and insults. And so we decided to use 30 recorded Steve. It's a lot more convenient. But and then some of the show, of course, is live, like the YouTube. We're coming up with all sorts of new loops. Michael Meets Mozart uses a loop pedal. So, and we've got a new Christmas album with a couple loop songs on it too. So we're excited about that.
So I was going to say, if you, one thing you can tell these young musicians where they are in life, if you had one word of advice, what would it be for them?
You know, I would defer to what Paul said. Get obsessed. If you want to be good at anything in life, you have to get obsessed with it, whether it be music or basketball or dance or whatever it is. The story that comes to my mind is something I heard from one of the best studio guitarists in Salt Lake. Told me the story that, you know, when we asked him how he got good, he said, well, whenever I heard something cool played on the guitar, I would learn it note for note in every key. So, I mean, that's an example of obsessed. You know, I mean, you think of skaters in the Olympics and their little 2-minute, 3-minute routine, and how many hours they put into that 2-minute routine. And they just get used to it. It's something that once you get used to that